So good day everyone. I am Gashanara Faith A. Bulawin. Today we will be discussing Chapter 19, Quality Function and Development. So today we will discussing quality function deployment. But before that, let's first back read the history. The first formal use of quality function deployment can be traced back to the Kobe Shipyard Mitsubishi Heavy Industries Ltd. In Japan in 1972. So according this year, the Toyota began using QFD extensively. It wasn't until 1983 that QFD was introduced to U.S. company. In 1983, Ford and several supplier companies went to Japan and had several meetings with Dr. Chikawa, another member of Union of Japanese Scientists and Engineers. It was this meeting that the power of QFD was recognized. In 1984, Dr. D. Closing, then of Xerox, introduced the operating mechanism of QFD to Ford and its supplier companies. Also, in 1984, the American Supplier Institute organized 3 Japanese study missions for several U.S. supplier companies. The purpose of the study mission was to review Toyota supplier KFD case studies, which in turn would aid in the transfer of the technique to U.S. industries. The study mission took place in December 1984, June 1985, and April 1986. It was during the last study mission that the two of the supplier companies, Bad Company and Chelsea Hayes, presented the first US QFD case studies. In 1987, Ford and General Motors began QFD training their plants. Since that time, QFD has been studied and implemented by companies all across the United States. So what is quality function deployment? It is a systematic and structured approach used to translate the voice of customers into appropriate technical requirements and actions for each stage of product or service development and production. Driven by the voice of customer, which is the customer requirement expressed in customer's own words. So, two major components as well of the QFD is the product quality deployment and deployment of the quality function. So according to product quality deployment encompasses the activities associated with translating the voice of customer into technical quality characteristics and features. So from the voice of the customer transferred or converted to technical activities and characteristics and features. In technical quality as well, that the features are known as final product or service control characteristics, wherein in deployment of quality function encompasses the activity associated with ensuring the customer required quality is actually achieved. Included in this activity and that the assignment of a specific quality responsibility to a specific group or department. So there is compartmentalization of activity or responsibility from technical down to quality responsibilities. The QFT process as well is driven by voice of customer. From voice of the customer down to design requirement, down to the critical part characteristics, required manufacturing service operation, and until operation instruction. So the concept of QFD is based on the 4K documents which aid in avoiding this problem. First and foremost is the overall customer requirement planning matrix. The second one, final product characteristics deployment matrix. The third one is process plan and quality control charts. And the last one is operating instructions. In the first one, wherein the planning matrix is the voice of customers into a specific product or final product or services control, the deployment matrix takes the final product or service characteristics and translate them into critical parts of characters. The moving of customer requirements differ to design product, and the process and quality control charts identify the critical products, services, and process parameters that are vital to meeting the critical part characteristics. There will always be a checkpoint or vital meeting of critical products or critical part characteristics. They also identify the operating instruction constitute the entire set of procedures and practice that will be performed to the performance or the overall parameters, and the main purpose of this document is to translate and deploy customers' requirements throughout the product, service, development, and production process of organization. The customer required are ultimately addressed by the operational personnel who produce the product and deliver the services. The flowchart of this what we call relationship of document are to be discussed on the voice of the customers. So what is the voice of the customers? We have the voice of customers. The following are the qualification, experience, technical competencies, professionalism, and quality of behavior. Like for example, in the context of a hospital, wherein the qualification of a nurse is first, it may be a unlicensed nurse with bachelor's degree or a nurse without unlicensed, licensed nurse without bachelor's degree, licensed nurse with bachelor's degrees, that's preferably, and last but not least, licensed nurse with bachelor's degree, and most especially in head nurse who have a master's degree. So in terms of experience, numbers of years working the nursing field or in the hospitals, number of years in hands-on nursing or practical nursing, and the third one is technical competence, which knows how to take vital signs of a patient, can answer basic questions about patient's condition, appears confident and poised about in their patients, shown a willingness to find out what he or she doesn't know, so self-learn or a hunger for learning. The last one knows knowable or knowledgeable information or knowledgeable enough in the information in chosen field. The last one is professionalism and quality of behavior. Is the nurse empathy or empathical enough or has an empathy towards their patients? Patients or pasensyoso ba sila? Sensitivity towards the information given or towards their patient. Listening skills, is they willing enough to listen, willing enough to listen about the condition or about the learnings to be given to them. Respect for the patient. Linguistic skills, can they communicate enough? Appearance, or are they well groomed? Manners of speaking, are they courteous or respectful? Body language, are they relative enough for their body language for the patients? Customer requirements consist of ease of use, conciseness, clarity, accurate information. The customers of service organization of identify 4K requirements as ease of use. So, madali ba siyang gamitin? Concise ba? Or tumpak ba siya sa ginagamit? Clarity. Klaro ba yung information? Accurate information? Di ba misleading? So, that's all. So in terms of technical requirements, for example, in brochure, on how QFD process useful in brochure, is the adjustment of font size applicable? Makita ba adjustment of font size? Expanding of section of glossary of terms in brochure, using of colors in brochure that attractive ba or hindi, providing answer to often asked questions, is the often asked questions answered properly, or nandyan ba yung basic questions na bigay ba yung sagot ng mga basic questions, introducing some graphical illustration, like for example, some sketches and drawings na convincing, use of pictures to portray the products or to portray the events, expanding the table of contents, like for example, the first page of it, yung expanded ba yung table of contents, makikita ba yung ibang pictures, presenting the brochure in more than one language. Is the brochure enough multi-language in order the foreigners or the another language or another non-dialect persons is makaintindi ba, or maintaining up-to-date informations. So this is one of the technical requirements in quality function deployment. So in terms of strength of relationship, the intersection between what and how defines the strength of the relationship between the two components of the QFD matrix. The entries in this section of QFD matrix reflect the correlation between the customer demands and technical requirement. It is possible for a particular technical requirements to constitute a response to a number of customer required. Also, a particular customer requirement may be addressed by a number of technical requirements. And a solid block circle indicates strong relationship, like for example in that, the symbol provides powerful visual impression of strength of relationship. So the symbol thou is required or portrays symbol of strength of relationship. To determine the following responses by company would have the strongest correlation. So the strongest correlation or the strongest connection with the customer required of brochure that has ease of use. Like for example, the ease of use has expanding of section of glossary of terms. Like for example, the terms must be identified, must be ano siya kanang gina-explain. Use of colors in brochure. Is the color of the brochure attractive enough for the visual person? Providing answer to often asked questions. Introducing some graphical illustrations or mga sketches. Use of pictures, mga portraying pictures to convey customers. Expanding the table of contents. Nandun ba yung ibang contents na dapat i-discuss? Presenting the brochure in one or in more than one language. Is the brochure multilingual enough para ng ibang native and ibang non-native speakers ay makaintindi din, or maintaining up-to-date information, like for example the brochure has been, like for example in newspapers, dapat on time din yung mga information sa brochure. So that's all.